All right, everybody, welcome back. Good morning. We've got a new position to look at here. It is nose tackle. Nose tackle, first defensive position we're doing. And I think this one speaks for itself. We could really use a nose tackle. Right now, you've got Byron Murphy trying to cut it as a nose tackle. And quite frankly, I don't think it's helping him, and I don't think it's helping us. I'd like to see something a little bit more how should I put this, specialized, and I hope that we can find that guy. I don't know exactly what the plan is right now at the position, but as far as I'm concerned, the only actual nose tackle we have on the team at the moment is Cameron Young, and he might not. I don't even know if he's on this team anymore. Actually, I haven't seen him in forever. So let's try to figure this out. Let's try to see what we can find in this draft. There are good nose tackles here, more than usual. And it all starts with our top guy. We're going to go through three guys in this video, the three guys that I think will be top 100 picks. Or, no, excuse me, day one or day two picks. So picked in this year, it's the top 102. First guy is going to be Ken Grant of Michigan. He is the big dog. He is the one guy that is probably, and by probably I mean almost definitely going to be a first round pick. 21 years old, out of Michigan. Very big, good size, good arm length. Just generally speaking, he looks like a nose tackle. He talks the game. He looks the part. Um, the only thing he did at the combine was bench press, which was not very good, but I'm not worried about that really. I think that for a nose tackle, the combine is maybe the least important thing compared to any other position. Every big board has him in the first round. The aggregate has him at 20th overall. Last 2 years, he's been fairly productive. Remember, he's a nose tackle, but he's still giving you about 30 tackles a season. 12 tackles for loss total. A handful of sacks a season, a bunch of batted down passes, and 50 combined quarterback pressures. That's actually really good for him. So he's a big body, takes up a lot of real estate. He can provide some stuff at 3 tech as well. So if you draft him, you're not only getting a nose tackle, and that's important. I would never suggest to spend a first round pick on a player that was only a nose tackle. This guy's going to be able to do more than just nose tackle stuff. He can also do 3 tech stuff, and he can provide some 3 tech value from nose tackle. He's very strong. He's very powerful. He's disruptive shooting gaps as well. He's not just a space eater. He's not just a guy who overpowers you. He can shoot gaps and disrupt in the backfield. For his size, he's a very good athlete, remarkable athlete. His bull rush is hard to handle. If he bull rushes you, it's hard to deal with. He's got a few pass rush moves as well. It's more than you would think for a nose tackle. He can cover a lot of ground. He's got a very strong anchor. There's a lot to love with Ken Grant. Now, he does get out leveraged because he is tall and he needs to learn how to sink his hips. He doesn't play a ton of football. He plays like less than 35 snaps a game on average. So there's a concern about his stamina and endurance to be able to play a full slate of snaps. But I want to say, in the modern NFL, keeping your players to 35 snaps a game is probably a good idea unless they're an in their prime superstar. So I don't know if it's a bad idea to limit his snaps just on general principle. He's very disruptive, but that is something that flashes. It's not consistent. And yeah, his stamina does seem a little bit on the low side. He has bad reps, probably because he gets tired. Now, nevertheless, I love this guy. He's one of my favorite players. He's going to be a run stuffer. He's going to be a gap shooter. He's going to be a pass rusher. He's going to do it all. If he takes a little bit of time to refine his craft, that I believe that he will take, I think he's going to be dominant. I think he's going to be a guy who can play all 3 downs. I think he's going to be awesome. I think he's a top 15 player in this draft, no doubt in my mind. And if we could get him at 18, I'm all over that. He's going to be one of my top picks. He will be consistently one of my favorite first rounders. Next nose tackle, this is going to be more of a second round guy, Alfred Collins of Texas, another Longhorn. 23, he's very big. He's actually probably a little bit bigger on the whole than Ken. He's got really long arms. He's 6'6". He's a massive man. So it's no surprise that he didn't do a lot at the combine, and what he did do was pretty rough, but it's okay. When you're this big, you can get away with it. Pretty much all the big boards have him in the second round. Walter Football has him in the first, which I'm not buying that, but the aggregate has him at the back end of the second, which I think is about right. Very productive in 2024. 55 tackles as a nose, mostly a nose. And he's generated a decent amount of pressure the last 2 years, so it's not completely outside his wheelhouse. Honestly, to understand the appeal of Alfred Collins, all you have to do is look at him. That build is to die for. If you could design a defensive lineman in a lab, this is what you would be looking for. Now, maybe you wouldn't want him to be so tall, but that comes with its advantages as well. But he is a freakish physical specimen. And it doesn't slow him down that much either. I'm not saying he's a stellar athlete, but he can cover some ground. He is not just a phone booth player. In 2024, he really elevated his ability to take on double teams and hold his ground. He really elevated his ability to take up big space. And he was that in the absence of Murphy and Sweat last year. Remember, they both went to the pros last year. He really stepped into his own as a block eater. And he's getting stronger and stronger, it feels like, every day. He might be able to do 3-tech stuff as well. I'm not sure, but I think there's a chance. Now, 6'6" is a problem, and sometimes he loses leverage because of it. He loses reps he should not lose because of that. He doesn't have a lot going on as a pass rusher. He only has a couple of moves. His footwork gets a little bit sloppy, and it causes him to get out of balance. He doesn't have a lot to offer as a playmaker. He's mostly just a space eater, and that's fine, but understand what you're getting into here. And there's consistency problems. He doesn't always seem to bring it. So I get the appeal. I totally do. I like him plenty. I think it's very easy to look at this guy and just go, this guy was born to play football, and I want him on my team. It comes with some problems. He is a little bit raw. He needs to learn stuff, but I'm in on this guy. A nose tackle closing in on 35-inch arms who has some playmaking ability. I'm paying attention, man. Middle second round pick. That might end up being a little bit overzealous. I know he's raw, but I'm developing him into a star with good coaching, I think. So middle second round pick for me. One last guy for this video, the last guy that I think will be a top 2-day pick, Jordan Phillips. Currently on the aggregate, he's literally the last pick of the third round. So if you're looking at today as like the top, the first 2 days, Phillips literally is that last guy on the second day. Terrapin, couldn't find his age. Definitely smaller than the last two guys. He's also short, which is good, but he's not a bad size at all. 312. Very short arms. Frustrating, but let's not give up yet. Combine was mixed. His jumping was okay. His 3-cone was an absolute disaster. Bench pressing was pretty good, though. And he's in the top 100 on 3 of the 4 big boards I found him on. The numbers are really, really drab. 0 sacks and 0 pass break, batted down passes the last 2 years. 3 tackles for loss total. But you have to understand what kind of player that he is. Jordan Phillips is not the kind of player that puts up a big stat sheet. He was a locker room leader. He was considered to be one of the leaders in that locker room, so there's leadership here. He's got a good explosive first step that blockers have to really work to handle. He's always giving high effort. I don't think anyone questions his effort. He plays with a lot of power. He's a fundamental football player in terms of keeping his balance and keeping up with a play. He is very good at maintaining his control of himself as he's trying to move around, even if it's not necessarily his primary skill. He does have a few pass rush tricks. He's not completely devoid of the ability to rush the passer. And occasionally you will notice him shoot a gap. But all these things tend to come and go. He does lean a little bit when engaging with a blocker. It feels like sometimes he's a little frustratingly behind the play. Like he will end up like not quite where he needs to be. Like on an outside zone run, he tries to keep up, but he's just a little bit behind, and I don't necessarily mean physically so much as I mean mentally. Like he didn't recognize the play quick enough. His tiny arms make shedding blocks really hard. 31.5 inches that's an obstacle. And I mean, the pass rush production is what it is. He doesn't put up numbers. He does have some tricks in his bag, but they haven't resulted in any candy yet. So for the moment, he's a pure run stuffer, and he does have to improve there as well. He has to improve his balance. He has to improve his play reading, play recognition. So I think he'll find a way. I like him. I think he's good. I think this guy's going to be a good player. I think that if you take him very late in day 2, like that very back end of the third, that's about right. But he's probably a one-dimensional player, and that one dimension is going to need a little bit of work. So you might have a zero-dimensional player if he doesn't pan out. All right, those are the top nose tackles. More videos coming later. See you guys soon. Go Hawks.